Hello, everyone. Good to see all of you again after a long gap. We are back with yet another episode on anthropology. And specifically speaking, we will discuss biological anthropology in some detail. But keep in mind, our anthropology optional is not just about biology per se, but it is about biological anthropology, where we emphasize more on the applications of these biological aspects to humans, to humanity, right? That's what anthropology is. It's a discipline of infinite curiosity about humans. So that's an important sort of a distinction to keep in mind. So a biology answer isn't necessarily a biological anthropology answer. And one more thing, most of the students probably think that biology portion is going to be taxing, it's going to be slightly challenging, but trust me, that is not the case at all. Biology is in fact quite easy, and in fact a lot of fun as well. And you yourself will realize this thing after watching these videos on the playlist. So in this playlist, we will start from the very basics and try to sort of help you build some interest and more importantly, help you build a strong foundation when it comes to biological anthropology. So without any further delay, let's get started. What is genetic polymorphism and natural selection? So in this particular concept, we're not going to talk about anything new because we are going to talk about, because you already know what is natural selection. You know how it works. We just have to link it to a new thing. And this you will realize is not necessarily new. What is genetic polymorphism? Well, poly means many and morph means forms. So the presence of many different forms. Okay, so polymorphism, and we have 10 minutes and I think I can make it. So what do we have here? Put this together, genetic and polymorph. What do you get? Multiple forms of genetic means here what will it be? Of a single gene that exists in a population. So genetic polymorphism. Okay, so many different forms of a single gene that exists in a population. For instance, we have A form for that blood group gene, right? Or we can have B, or we can have O, right? And phenotypically also we see, you get the point, right? So there are multiple forms, which essentially means that there is variation already present. And upon variation, you are aware that natural selection is going to act. So how exactly does natural select act upon this, different genetic polymorphs, or in terms of phenotypic polymorphs? So genetic polymorphs. So you can have genotype polymorphs, right? Or you can even look at phenotypes, just like what we have been doing since the beginning, right? So how does natural selection act here? Can you explain to me this? If we say that natural selection can influence the distribution of the phenotypes, okay, in the population by selecting for the better ones, okay, best suited to that particular environment, we can say natural selection will happen. In this, they say, can I move to the next slide?
Yeah.
So in
Yes,
this,
sir.
they're saying there are 3 different forms. Do you remember this? What could be the ones? One is stabilizing selection. Second one is directional selection. And third one is disruptive selection. What could be stabilizing selection? What could be directional selection? What could be disruptive selection? I think we have enough time to go through first 2. Third one we can probably look at in the next session. Can you think of any example? So genetic polymorphism essentially means there are different alleles, right? And natural selection will act upon it in many different ways. Sometimes natural selection will act in a stabilizing sense, meaning in this stabilizing selection, intermediate phenotypes are more fit than extreme ones. If you take like an example of a baby, generally, okay, let's say you have many different types, many different so phenotypes. So let's say we are going to talk about a parameter called size, okay, or weight. When babies are very small, what happens? In a survey, it was found that neonatal mortality, okay, and versus neonatal mortality, right, versus weight. If you take a look at this, most of the mortality occurred in individuals who had either very low weight or very high weight. Okay, because if the child is like more than 5 kgs, then it is a problem for mother and the child. If the child is of a very low weight problem, okay, then again, maybe like it's premature, or because the oxygen is not getting diffused into, there are a whole lot of things, okay, lack of immunity, whatever it is. So this selects for what? Selects for intermediate phenotypes. Okay, example, baby, weight, okay, and neonatal mortality. Is this clear? So this is selecting for intermediate phenotypes. So I have like 1 kg, I have 3 kgs, and I have 5 kgs. So it is going to select more and more of this kind of population, okay, and less of this kind of population. So eventually your population will become a lot more of this and a lot less of this. So selection is going to select for the intermediate groups. But if I say directional selection, it will be the opposite. I mean, I don't know if it's opposite. How would you say it? One second. So extremes, maybe one of the extremes in phenotype is fitter than other phenotypes. So let's say we take an example. We have 3.5 minutes. Okay. So let us say, did we talk about this peppered mouth example? Industrial
No,
Revolution,
sir.
England. Have we talked about this example?
No, sir.
We've not
No.
talked about it. Forget it for now. See, let us say you are, so you're a population, okay, and you have to live somewhere in the equator, okay, and there's environmental change and whatever it is, climate change, and all these things are happening. There's a lot of sunlight, okay, there is a lot of sun rays entering, the heat is going up, whatever. Now we are looking at a parameter. This is going to be your skin color. Now let's say over a period of time you are staying in the equator. Who is going to become, who will be the, what will be the selection here? Will it be people who are lighter skinned, okay, or is it going to be the ones who are darker skinned?
Darker skin.
Why so? How is that fitter than lighter
Because
skinned?
they produce more melanin than the lighter skin, and that is more suitable for an area where, the area around equator.
Okay. Revati, did you get that?
Yes.
So generally what happens is the fittest people in the equator band, in that particular band, right? It will be the ones who have a larger production of that melanin pigment, which gives them a darker shade. Okay, this will protect them from a lot of the harmful rays, sun rays. Okay, protect you from skin cancer and many other things, right? So one particular extreme is better than the other. So this is going to be a directional selection. So it is going to select slowly in the direction of more and darker and darker population. However, the corollary of this is that, let's say I am staying somewhere in the polar region, okay, and here again, the skin color does matter. Okay, which direction will it select and why so? So when you're staying in a colder climate, okay, in the polar areas, okay, the amount of sunlight penetration is quite minimal. right? And then you don't have enough vitamin D entering your body, or sun rays and vitamin D production in your body and calcium absorption, this whole thing, right? So what you need is that you want less of this melanin to allow for even the little bit of sun rays to enter your skin. Okay, and then you will have sufficient amount of vitamin D production and calcium absorption, all of these kinds of things. So a person does not require that much melanin. In fact, too much melanin here could be a disadvantage. So the fittest people will be the ones who are lighter skinned. So again, it is going to be selecting for the other extreme in that particular environment. So I think we have done genetic polymorphism. Okay, we understood what is phenotypic polymorphism. We have tried to understand any kind of examples can be applied here. So we've seen the first one and the second one. Disruptive selection, we can take a look at it in the next session. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, if you have any questions, you ping it to me and go ahead. So you have different kinds of alleles present in the population. So you have variations. Okay, those variations are called. So what am I saying? So there are variations. Okay, these variations are in the form of different forms, right? So it, instead of like saying phenotypic variations, we are saying genotypic variations. Yes. So you have multiple alleles. The prevalence of these multiple alleles is your variation. So basically, we're still talking about variation. And on top of variation, we have said that there is natural selection. Now, natural selection can select in a particular direction, right? We saw a particular direction. Okay. So in a particular direction, how would you say that for in terms of phenotype, it could be the peak is becoming narrower and narrower, thinner and thinner, right? And then we have stabilizing selection. Stabilizing is instead of the extremes, you're selecting from the middle. That kind of a variation. So there are different kinds of variation. You're selecting from the middle, not extremes. Whereas here, you're selecting the extremes, right? In one particular direction, either bigger in size or lower in size. And here, not the bigger ones, not the lower, smaller size. It'll be somewhere in the middle. Okay, then there is something also of disruptive selection, right? What is disruptive selection? So we have seen there are three different combinations, right? You can have a capital D, you can have a capital D, lowercase d, or you could have a lowercase d, or this could be this combination, right? Selection of this kind of alleles, okay, heterozygous. Heterozygous nature, selection of these, okay, this is going to be your, which one? Disruptive selection. So you can select either the extremes in a particular direction, or not the either direction, but somewhere in the center. Or you can even, because now we are talking of the variations in terms of genotypes, right? Which is your allelic combination. So here we are going to say net this, okay, selection of heterozygous nature of these alleles. So this kind of an example. So and as we go into it, I'll give you the example. Just note this down: sickle cell anemia. Okay, so I'll tell you why exactly this one is being selected again and again. Is that okay? So you understood this?
Yes, sir.
So essentially, you're just doing variations and then you are trying to apply natural selection there. So what are the variations? We are looking at it more in terms of, because you are in post-Darwin period, right? And you are in synthetic period. Synthetic theory talks about genotypes and phenotypes, not phenotypes exactly, in terms of genotypes and alleles and homozygous and heterozygous. So you're looking at the same variations in the natural selection. So we have not wavered from our approach. Okay, we've just introduced a couple of keywords and said the exact same thing. Okay.
What exactly is stabilizing? I didn't quite follow it. How is it different?
Different from?
Different from destructive.
So we gave an example of baby, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we had 1 kg baby, okay, 6 kg baby. Neither of them are going to be selected for. Okay, the one that is here is probably the one that is most suited. So this is going to be naturally selected or selected by nature. Less than 1 kg, you'll have all kinds of problems, either premature or immunity or any other things. Similarly, anything more than a certain weight is going to be a problem for both the mother and the child, right? Even for the baby. So anything that selects for the middle. Okay, if it is, so this is in terms of size. In terms of it is color, Okay, let us say that it is going to select for a particular color. I'll give you an example. Let's say there is
So isn't that directional as well in that case?
no directional is going into extremes. This direction or this direction. This you're not moving anywhere. You're staying in the center and selecting only in the center, and you're removing from both the other extremes, or you're removing from the other directions.
Okay, and disruptive?
Disruptive is your, so just again look at in terms of alleles. Okay, so these are your allele combinations, right?
Yes.
So in terms of allele combination, these are your possible combinations, right?
Yes.
So we have these combinations: capital D, lowercase d, and capital D, lowercase d, capital D. So this is your homozygous, and this is your homozygous.
Yes.
In certain
Yes.
scenarios, there will be something called disruptive selection, as in it is neither choosing for this set of alleles nor this set of alleles, but you want a mix of them. You want them coming together. Okay, so selection of heterozygous nature, only selection of this and removal of this for a particular reason that as we go more into bio, I'll explain it to you how this or why this happens. But for sickle cell anemia, it just turns out that there is disruptive selection, as in not this, not this. It is this one that is getting selected.
Got it. Yeah.
Hope you guys are finding a biological anthropology playlist useful for your preparation. Hope this video helped reinforce your basics and also helped you connect a little better with the applications. If there's any other aspect of anthropology that you would like to know more about, do let us know in the comment section and we will try to make videos on those as well. Thank you for watching and we will see you in the next video.